self-control. Her gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal. Our Saturday edition is underway. Thank you to Frank and Paula from the Fearless show. That was wonderful, and always a pleasure to hear you guys. And loving your tunes, Frank. Excellent stuff. So thank you guys for being here and being a part of the show. I'm still not feeling real great, but I'm glad that I'm not alone here. I got my good friend and co-host with me, Mr. Don Longbeard.
That would be me.
It
Happy
would be.
to be here on this Saturday. And yeah, I was listening a little bit last night to you, and you were sounding pretty stuffed up there, buddy. So,
yeah, it's not going real well. I mean, it's not horrible. I'm just groggy and my head's about to explode. But other than that, I'm just doing fantastic.
Good.
I love getting out there and shoveling this morning. Let me tell you.
Oh, dude, 7 o'clock this morning. I peeked out my window. And I saw 8 inches sitting on top of my truck, including the 8 inches that was under the truck. I was like, oh, my God.
That's not even fair.
I'm like, oh, please.
But
it sucks.
You guys, of course, are not here to listen to our weather. So we got a really special show lined up for you guys tonight. We have a special guest joining us, and this is a gentleman who has a very, very unique experience, one that I'm absolutely floored by. I think it's just it's been an incredible journey, and in listening to him as he gave other interviews on both his own channel and on World Bigfoot Radio, the insight and knowledge is just incredible, and I'm really looking forward to this, and I don't know what to say. It's just one of those 1 in a million, 1 in a billion kind of experiences. We're all curious about these beings called Bigfoot or Sasquatch or skunk apes or whatever you want to refer to them as. They are these elusive, incredibly intelligent creatures that leave footprints, and they knock on trees and they howl in the night, and they slap on people's houses and they break stuff. And they're just always out of sight. They are the ninja of the forest.
Definitely that.
Our guest tonight has an incredibly unique experience and insight. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Mr. Kevin Laing. Welcome to our show, sir.
Thank you, guys, for having me. Glad to be here.
It's really our pleasure. And I can't tell you how excited I am to have this opportunity to talk with you about your experiences now. We've always been on the outside looking in, except for a very, very extraordinarily rare handful of people, probably on the face of the world, that have experienced what you've experienced. And so it's just a real honor to have you here, and really looking forward to our listeners getting a chance to hear, what you've got to say. So I'm just glad you're here, brother.
Well, thank you very much. Glad to be here.
All right. So, in getting started, Kevin, how did this all start for you? Let's just start from the perspective of before you ever saw anything like a Bigfoot. What was your opinion of something like a Bigfoot?
That they don't exist.
Okay.
I was the same mindset of, everybody in the small town I grew up in, that there was one guy in the town that said that one of them had pushed a tree over on him and he was a town drunk, but he wasn't the town drunk. I found out later in life until after he said a Sasquatch pushed a tree over on him.
Right.
But it was just myth or fairy tale
Sure.
up until what happened to me happened.
So, yeah, and that's really cool, and it's awesome that maybe it's not awesome. I don't, I just think it's just an incredible experience. But your first experience was what then, when you finally realized these things were really out there?
Well, I was hunting with. It was my first year hunting. I was with my dad and a couple of my brothers,
And how old were
which
you?
I didn't get along very good with. But
How old were you at this time?
14.
14. Okay.
And I'd been dropped off on a ridge line, and ways down, further down the ridge, there was a road that traveled across the top of the mountains there. And my dad dropped each one of us off half mile, 3/4 of a mile apart, and then was dropping down the road below to try to push stuff up to us. And I found a nice spot to sit right up on the top of the ridge, about 35, 40 yards away from, the dirt road where I got dropped off at. Found some rocks right up on top of there and sat down and just waited, listened and watched. And I was half asleep. It was first thing in the morning. The sun was just starting to come up. And right as the sun started, everything was nice and bright and still kind of orange. I heard the loudest racket coming up from the other side of the draw, that I was not the side that the road was on. The other side, heard something just coming through the trees like a freight train. And that was pretty steep, rough terrain on that side. And it's like, I had no idea what it was, but I thought I was going to get to see either a big buck or an elk or something, which is exactly what happened. A spiked bull popped over the top of the ridge, and it was weird. He made a beeline right towards me, and it, kind of stunned me. I wasn't hunting for elk. I didn't have an elk permit, but that thing, it kind of angled over towards me, and when he run by me, I could have reached out and touched him. And just the stuff that you gather just in an instant, he was all lathered up and had been being run pretty hard, so something was chasing him down. And I thought probably another bull running him off, because right as he passed me and boogied on down the other side, hit across the road and was down the other side of the mountain pretty quick. I heard something else coming up that draw too, and it's like, cool, I'm going to get to see a bigger one. And what I definitely did see a bigger one, but it wasn't anything that I ever expected or had any idea existed.
Wow.
And that's when the first time I ever saw or realized that Sasquatch was real, although I did not know what it was at the time. I was a kid.
Sure.
I had heard Sasquatch. I didn't know what that meant, talking about the guy in town. But all I thought was monster. And you've been told your entire life that monsters are not real, but what in the hell was that? And it stopped right there, right before it got up to the peak of the ridge. I'd say I never saw it from the knees down. And here's this thing that is the biggest, it was terrifying to me, especially being so young. It was the biggest thing on two legs I had ever seen. And it was carrying a massive rock in its right hand. And it's like, and the stuff that's going through your mind at that moment is just terrifying. It's like, holy crap, what is that? The whole time it's like, what is that? What is that?
Right.
It's a monster. And it stopped right before it got up to the top, and it looked at me and gave me a quick once over, head to toe, looked at my rifle that was laying in the crook of my left arm, and then just stared at me, and it's like,
Oh man.
holy crap. And the thing that always gets me when I look back at it is the thing that was the most gripping about it was the fact that I saw intelligence in its eyes.
Oh.
And I saw nothing that told me animal other than covered with hair, but it wasn't, I've seen a black bear. I've seen several black bear. I've seen a mountain lion. I've seen a brown bear. I've seen all sorts of predators, bobcats, and this had the look of a predator, but intelligent, if that makes sense.
Sure it does.
And it was calculating, it sized me up in that second or two that it did the once over, and then oh man, it's still just frightening thinking back on it, but it just kind of rolled its hand off. It lifted its right arm up that had the rock in it and kind of rolled the rock right out its fingertips, and that rock flew across the ravine and hit some rocks on the other side and shattered.
Wow.
And it's like he didn't even throw that. He just kind of flicked his wrist, and it shot out of his hand like a bullet.
Oh no.
And that rock he was palming it like a basketball player would a basketball, that you have no idea the massive size of this rock was probably at least 100 pounds or more.
Wow.
And the size of my center body mass. But, I don't know if I don't remember I said anything. If I did, it was probably just garbled, like blah, blah, blah. Even though it tried to sound intelligent.
Right.
I don't know if I did anything. If I did, I was thinking, when he looked at my rifle and his gaze lingered on my rifle, well, this ain't for you. I don't know if I said that or I tried to say it. I can't remember. It's been many, many, many years ago, but
right.
It did something that I will never forget. And it's kind of terrifying, but he took in a deep breath and he kind of flexed his muscles kind of like a bodybuilder would, and went, let out this extremely loud, huge roar.
Ooh.
That I interpreted it now, looking back on it, as, you're a jerk. You just interrupted my breakfast. And it turned around and walked back down, and I didn't see it anymore. And I wasn't about to go look over the edge and see what it was.
Yeah. Definitely not.
So was it a Sasquatch or a quote unquote Bigfoot? I couldn't tell you. I never saw its feet. I never saw from its knees down.
Right.
But where I was sitting on the rock on top of the ridge, I still had to look up to meet his gaze.
Oh wow.
So how tall do you think he was?
At least 12 feet.
God.
Wow.
Oh, that's a giant.
And a conservative estimate would be 1,800 to 2,000 pounds.
Oof.
Yeah.
And he was chasing down a young bull elk.
Wow.
Carrying a massive rock in his hand.
Oh.
And for 6 or 8 months, I had no clue that that's what a Sasquatch was. No idea.
Well,
it was just a monster.
A monster, huh? Wow.
That's amazing.
The size of that, as you describe it, that does make it a monster in my book. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. I'm from the Pacific Northwest. I'm from the Olympic Peninsula, and originally, and we had stories of Bigfoot. No, you don't go up Beacon Hill. This, that, and the other thing, because Bigfoot will get you and things like that. So I grew up, in the Northwest, in supposedly Sasquatch Central, and I got to tell you, and for all the time I've been curious about it, I have never even seen a footprint. So that's part of the reason I'm here on the show, is so I can live vicariously. But that is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you, I had been in the forest more times than I can count before that. Not hunting, but goofing off, playing.
Mm-hmm.
And, we went in the mountains all the time. We got wood. I never saw a footprint either. I never saw anything that made me think that they were real, but I was never looking either.
Right.
And so there's a lot of people that say, I've never seen anything in the forest. Well, were you looking for anything in particular?
Or did you know what to look for? Because see, after I grew up in this forested area of Minnesota, and it wasn't like anything major or real feral, but I just saw it as a forest, and it wasn't until I had an experience where I had one growl behind me as a kid. I was about 14 or 15 years old as well. And I didn't know what the hell it was, and for years and years I didn't know. But as I grew older into my adult life, I started getting into Bigfoot, and then I started finding out things that people attribute to them, and then I looked up in that forest again, and there's things like that all over the place. But it was like I had passed all those things for years, not knowing what to look for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's the key, is that people make those claims like, oh, I've been in the forest for years. Well, yeah, but have you ever seen, a tree way up in another tree that doesn't make sense? Or have you ever seen teepee structures or, weird breaks and things like that? And once you know what you're looking for, all of a sudden the signs are everywhere.
Yes, they are. If you know what you're looking for.
Right. So, no.
And
go ahead.
And I just wanted to say the first thing is your show is only the third time that I have ever told that story that I just did. I was on Sasquatch Chronicles years ago, and I told that very first encounter that I had, and I briefly mentioned Glagg, but I didn't say his name. I give my entire Glagg story to Duke, and Duke is the one that encouraged me to come in on here and do other interviews. But there's people out there, how this topic and this genre is so backstabbing, and
there's all kinds of
I don't like that aspect of it, but I think I have something that could benefit and help us understand these beings better. That's why I went on Duke's show, and that's why I'm here, because I have something that if it can help us understand and maybe one of these days have a good relationship with these beings, I think it's my obligation to tell it.
Excellent.
Well, it is really cool because, you're bringing to light a whole different side of this being than everybody knows. But, it's funny, when you were telling that story, as you were recounting that story, I was like, God, that's just like that one I heard on Bigfoot Chronicles or Sasquatch Chronicles. And so it was you. I heard you years back.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, there's always the people that just love making everybody else's life miserable. I try not to. I have the best moderators and the best admins on my channel and help me with my stuff that don't even let that get a foothold.
Yeah.
Because it's all about learning. When you come over to Glagland on Facebook or listen to I do a live chat every Sunday night and let anybody in the world ask me a question about anything that I've said on Duke's channel in the interviews or anything that I will say tonight. I give anybody in the world the opportunity to come and watch my face, unscripted, answer your questions live in front of God and everybody.
Good for you. Yep. Oh, yeah.
And so I just, you always have those people that have got, I guess for lack of a better term, is the trolls out there.
Right.
I don't like that aspect of the Bigfoot world.
Yeah.
But I hope that everything that anything that I have that can help, that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. We have we've had a few guests that are considered controversial, but you know what? Honestly, the fact of the matter is they have information they need to share, they feel they need to share, and they're always welcome, because that's part of why we're here, is to get, to get people out there, get the information, keep teaching and giving that point of view. Now, yeah, there's a lot of trolls out there that have trolled the pages and things like that. And Brent is really anti-troll when it comes to that kind of thing.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
don't worry about anything you say tonight. whatever you say is what you say.
Yeah.
And, it's an open forum here. And if somebody doesn't like it, well, there's, a million other YouTube channels they could be watching right now.
Yep.
But,
Yeah,
I believe that
I
our
appreciate
chatters,
that, guys.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
really do.
Our listeners and our viewers are very open-minded, and they love to hear the different stories, even if they seem, even if to them, the listener, they seem outrageous or outlandish. It's not the point. The point is somebody shared the information. So here we are,
Yes.
and it's your night, buddy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you take everything that I say and you put it with this person, everything that they know and they say, and you put it with the other person without the backstabbing, without the infighting, without the, name calling and whatever it is. You put all of that pool of information together. It gives us a lot better. We're all trying to work. Well, at least I am trying to better understand these beings. They're not an animal to me.
Right.
I know a little bit too much to ever consider them an animal. They're a type of people or a type of being.
Mm-hmm.
Animals don't have language. Animals don't have the emotions like we have.
Right.
They're way too much like us to be an animal. But we're all working towards the same goal, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Please stop the fighting.
Right.
Well,
And
nice.
if we all work together, maybe one day we can better understand them.
Yeah. Well, and it's unfortunate that it's that way, but that's not the way it is on the portal, and we'll never advocate that kind of behavior. We always
That's awesome.
do our best to protect our guests as much as we can. So I'll be watching for that stuff as well. But so you had this one experience, and how much longer was it again until you had the most profound experience that I've ever heard of?
Holy cow! That was the next hunting season.
Oh, okay.
But it began in the middle of the summer before that next hunting season, even though I didn't realize it back then, but I do now.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a bow hunter. I hunt with a rifle and with a bow, but it was my first year that I had a really nice bow, and I was another year older, and different time, different era, different place, small town kid. I had a motorcycle, an old piece of crap. I had the money to buy I saved up the money to buy a new bike, but my mom wouldn't let me get one. The only way I got a motorcycle was to get 5 milk crates full of parts and a rolling chassis, because she never thought I'd get it running.
Right.
Oh.
But I had a milk crate on the back fender and a milk crate on the front, and I'd put some supplies, just go down to the lumber yard and get the cold wood, just the ends and pieces, and went up and found a good meadow that I thought, I could see signs that deer had been moving through it and bedding down in one corner of it. And I built a tree stand up on the top right-hand side of the meadow, and a tree stand down on the bottom left side of it, backing a trees a ways, about 35, 40 feet up, in 2 big Douglas fir trees.
Wow.
Depending on the time of day that I was planning on hunting, and depended on which stand I would be in, if they was coming up or if they was going down. But that was late spring, early summer, and I got them done in a couple of weeks. It took a lot of trips on that old piece of crap Yamaha. I love that bike though.
Oh.
And when I took off down the street on it for the very first time, my mom was ticked because she didn't think I'd ever get it running. But I wanted to get them built and then leave them alone so my scent would get away from it for better chances in early archery. And I had 2 other stands that I built in different parts of the forest and the mountains around where I live. That was quite a few miles away, but still the same general area in the grand scheme of things. But it was several miles away from that meadow. And I got skunked in early archery.
Oh.
And I got skunked in deer season on rifle. And so late archery, I was back up there, and that's when I finally used those stands. And the first night I was up there, the stands I'd made big enough to where I could actually sleep up there.
Oh, no.
It was a permanent stand that you didn't take down. It's something that you wasn't supposed to do, but it was a permanent fixture of the tree when I got done. And it had a little ledge on either side, about 3/4 of a foot to a foot high, and I always would put rope across that if I was laying down, so I wouldn't happen to roll out.
Uh-huh.
But I killed a deer the first night that I was up there, right at dusk, and I had planned to be up there 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so here it was, the first night that I was there, I killed a deer. So
Okay.
I was like, woohoo, I get a goof off for the next couple of days. I gutted it, hung it in a tree on the other side of the meadow. I was on the top right-hand side of the meadow, by the way.
Okay. So
where I was staying.
Kevin, I'm gonna interrupt you right here because we're just about at the break, and I don't want you to get into a spot where it'd be really awkward to break it up. But ladies and gentlemen, we will be taking calls if you want to call in, but wait till the second hour, please. We got to have some time to talk and to hear what he's got to say. So we will definitely do that in the second hour of the show. But until then, we will be, let's see, what else? I wanted to make sure to mention that, unfortunately, the Paranormal Portal is only a 2-hour show, and I'm here to tell you that Kevin's story is incredibly complex and long. We obviously won't be able to get into a lot of it tonight, although I do hope to have him back over and over again as long as he's willing to come on. But if you want to hear the whole account of his retelling of experiences, please check out Brian Sullivan's World Bigfoot Radio channel on YouTube. He's got 7. How many videos is that, Kevin? 7 or 8?
I think it's either 10 or 11 total. I think
10 or 11 total. Okay.
9 in the interview, and there was a couple of round tables that we did.
There you go. So
and an Apocrypha episode, stuff that I'd missed or people wanted to hear about.
Okay, everybody, we're going to go to our first break of the night. We'll be back in just a couple minutes to continue our evening with Mr. Kevin Laing here on the Portal.
Thank you.
Real radio.
Initiating the truth frequency.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are into our second half hour here on the show, and already it's just flying by, but time bends strangely in the portal. So, it's a good conversation when that happens. So, Don and I are joined tonight by Mr. Kevin Laing, who also has his own YouTube channel, and that is Kevin Laing's Glagg on YouTube. And if you'd like to check out some of his live streams and discussions, you can certainly head over there. The links for all of this are in the YouTube description for this video. But those of you who are in here, please subscribe if you would. That'd be so wonderful. And like the video. And that'd be awesome. So I know we got a full house here tonight, Kevin. So apparently a lot of people are excited you're here just like we are. So welcome back.
Great. Well, thank you.
So you're up in the... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm on my phone, and there's a storm here, and I don't want to mess with it. So anybody that's in the YouTube, watching on YouTube, tell them I said hi. Well, tell everybody I said hi. I just can't see or correspond with anybody tonight.
Okay.
Because of the weather, and I just don't want to lose signal. Here on the interview.
Yeah, it would make for a really poor interview if that.
Yes, it would.
So anyway, let's so where we left it was you had built the tree stand, it's opening day, you got a deer, and take it from there, sir.
All right. And I hung it, the deer that I got, I hung in a tree, probably 70, 80 yards away from the stand that I was staying up in. And, hung it up pretty high to where if anything come underneath of it, it would not be able to get to it. And I climbed back up in the tree stand, and I had a 30 below sleeping bag. And so I'd always take my pants off and my boots off and leave them in the bottom of the sleeping bag. And I was plenty warm. Mm-hmm. And I dozed off and fell asleep. And when I woke up, it was, I couldn't tell you what time it was. It was dark out, but there was a nice moon that night. And I heard something. It sounded like whimpering or whining. And then it sounded like somebody griping. And, I try to shake the sleep out of my head, and I look over, and there's somebody underneath my deer jumping up, trying to grab a hold of it. And I thought, you have got to be kidding me. I was half asleep. I come down out of my tree stand in a hurry and run over at this person that was jumping up, trying to grab a hold of the deer hanging there. Like, what do you think you're doing? Put on the brakes, and it's like, holy cow, this is a lot bigger than I thought it was from way up in the tree.
Right.
And it's not a person. Oh, crap. I'm in a pair of wool boot socks, boxer shorts, and a T-shirt. and my bow and my pistols back up in the tree.
Oh, no.
And I turn around and head back to the tree and start going up. And this thing takes off the other side of the meadow. And that's the only time I would ever say that I thought it was animal-like, because this thing dropped down to all fours and run kind of a sideways gait. I mean, just fast too, away, but it kind of looked the same way a chimpanzee runs when they're on all four.
Right.
But massive compared to a chimpanzee. I'd say probably 6 or 7 inches taller than me, but it easily double my weight at the time. And I was 200 to 230, somewhere in there at that age.
How tall were
And
you
this
at
thing
that age?
easily, I was 6 foot.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Just that between 14 and 15, that year was extremely painful.
Wow.
When I grew almost a foot and 4 inches in 1 year and put on about 80 pounds,
Oh my
80,
God.
90 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, finally getting big enough to defend myself against my brothers.
Yeah, no doubt
I was
there.
forced to. But this thing was easily twice my weight.
Wow.
And, it freaked me out. And I went back up in the tree, put my boots and my pants and my boots on and my coat and stayed there and just watched all night. And I kept thinking that I would see stuff. Like I said, there was a pretty bright moon that night, but I could never see, anything like I saw when I came down out of the tree.
Mm.
But the next day I went, when morning came and it was very light out, I climbed back down and lit a fire, was going to eat something. And I went over and looked underneath of it and saw, that's when it started putting everything together. Like, holy cow, this is that thing that I saw last year. It's just a smaller version of it.
Huh.
Okay.
But in the interim between the first one I saw and this one, I realized that what I saw was a Sasquatch the very first time. And this was probably a young one.
Mm-hmm.
And just walking around and trying to see where all it had been, man, it had been all over around me, all around that meadow. And I didn't see any of that stuff before when I got there in the middle of the afternoon the day before.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally got down to where I'd killed the deer and where I'd drug it, way off out of the way and gutted it. And something had eaten the gut pile.
Oh.
Not just scavengers taking it off. There was footprints all around it, and they were about the size of my foot in my boot at the time.
Right.
But it was a barefoot in the snow. And this thing had eaten, almost every bit of the gut pile that I had left.
Wow.
Okay.
And so it's like, holy cow, I started feeling sorry for it because, oh man, of all this stuff, here's that nice deer hanging there. And all I left it was, I did leave the liver and the heart.
Sure.
But just the gut pile. And he was so hungry that that's what he ate, is all of that. And so I started feeling sorry for him. And all day long that day, when I was cooking, I went over and I had the, the little blocking tackle that I'd hung up in the tree,
Right.
how I hung my deer up, lowered it down, and I cut some chunks of meat off of there and was cooking them over the fire. And every once in a while, I'd hear whimpering from all around me, and it was constantly, always moving around all around the meadow. No matter, where I'd look, I couldn't see it, but I could hear it, and I knew it was there. And it was sad sounding. I started feeling sorry for it because I thought, man, this thing's starving. Then I started thinking, if it's young, if that other one is an adult, this must be a young one. How young is it?
Mm-hmm.
And where's its mom and dad?
Right.
If he's hungry enough to eat the gut pile, where's its mom and dad? Why didn't he go out and pick up his own rock and kill his own animal?
Right.
All of that is going through my head at this time. And so, being a kid, and that's where on the interviews with Duke, I said it was the perfect storm of, at that time, I needed him and he needed me. There's no other way to explain it. It's just because of how my brothers treated me, I was in the right frame of mind to feel sorry for him, and I'd never do to anybody what was being done to me. So I took and I had my hatchet and I cut a couple of ribs out of the deer that I'd killed the night before. And I cooked them over the fire, and then I went and placed them out close to where I'd gutted my deer, and I just left them there. And it wasn't until after dark that he came up and got those.
Wow.
And for the sake of time, if you want to hear exactly how all that happened, you can go listen on Duke's channel on World Bigfoot Radio. But
sure,
over the next couple of days, I enticed him closer and closer to me using cooked deer ribs that I cooked over the fire.
Cool.
And at the end of, I actually stayed an extra day up there, kind of got in trouble for it because I wasn't supposed to stay more than the 3 days that I'd planned. But at the end of that, by the last day, I'd actually made contact with him, physical contact.
Wow.
Wow. That's amazing.
And it just kept enticing him closer and closer. Every time I'd put 2 ribs out for him, it'd be closer. And over the course of 2.5 days, I worked getting him in closer to where the last time that I made some for him, he was sitting right beside me on a log.
Wow, that had to have been
Right
amazing.
by the fire.
Huh. Now, I got to ask you this question because, of course, this comes up a lot in Bigfoot stories and people that have had experience with them is that, now, I think it's something they do when they're in great stress, but did he smell bad or how did he smell?
Not that I can remember then.
Okay.
I never smelled that bad, skunky, rotten garbage smell with Glagg ever until one night. And that will have to be later on another episode. We won't be able to get anywhere close to that tonight. Sure. But I never, when you have a dog that needs a bath, it just not like rolling around in anything, but anybody that hasn't taken a bath in a while, you can smell that they need to take a bath. I've never smelled that rotten, nasty, skunky smell, the rotten garbage or the skunk smell or anything like that. Never smelled that with Glagg.
Well, that's good.
And that's what I interpreted his name to be. Whether that's correct or not, that's what. We'll get into that in a little bit. But
sure,
that at the end of that first couple of nights, that over that couple of nights and those couple of days, I got up to him, and after he was sitting right by me, waiting for the next couple of ribs to be handed over, I handed them right to him, sitting right next to me.
Wow. That's just such an amazing experience. That's like, the kind of like Jane Goodall making contact with the chimpanzees. It's like, wow, that's incredible. Or Diane Fossey.
I had no idea that I was doing anything special. I was just, I felt sorry for this guy, even though he's twice my size. Yeah. But he was hungry, and it was like a little kid. It's just a huge little kid, and it was cool. He was cute. He was so ugly, he was cute. Compared to our standards.
Sure, but, right.
I grew to love him, but there was nothing about him other than when he ran away that very first night that I would say was animal. Nothing. He just looked like a extremely large, hair-covered person.
Right.
But at the end, after I handed him, and it wasn't a rib the time that he was sitting there waiting for it and looking anxious and looking at me and looking at the piece of meat on a stick over the fire and looking at me and looking at it and looking at me and looking at it. That after that, I held my hand out, just palm up, holding it, and he took it from it and touched my hand. And still a little emotional, but it wasn't too much longer after that he latched on to me and gave me a big hug and wouldn't let me go and started crying.
Wow. Oh, what a heartbreaker.
Just like you and I would cry if we, in that situation, you don't have your parents and you're starving to death and somebody comes along and helps you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it broke my heart.
Yeah, wow.
But,
that's absolutely incredible.
And man, he held on and just give me a hug, which, he's not a small baby chimpanzee. Remember, he's twice my size, and it was a little intimidating, but he was crying just like a little kid would, just like you or I would in that situation. And it just broke my heart.
Oh, that's so sad.
And I knew right then that I had to do anything that I could do to help him. And man, it was a whirlwind from that day forward for the next several years.
Wow.
So initially this happened, and as a 14-year-old kid, well, and I would think, did you want to tell anybody else, or did you just know already that it was something you couldn't talk about?
Right.
I knew what the town did to the guy that said the Sasquatch pushed a tree over on him.
Right.
Yeah.
They were merciless. I mean, behind his back, to his face, and everything. And it's like, I never said anything about the first one I saw to anybody. I kept that to myself, except I did talk to the town drunk.
Oh, okay.
And that's what helped me put two and two together in the course of that first year. And, when I talked to him, I asked him, you're the one that the Sasquatch pushed the tree over on, aren't you? And he said, just get out of here and leave me alone. And I said, please, I'd just like to talk to you. Just leave me alone. I said, I would like to know if what I saw is the same thing that pushed the tree over on me.
Oh.
And he changed his attitude, and he said, because was it the local Greasy Spoon?
Sure.
And, well, you don't want to talk from here. You don't want people to see associated with me.
Mm.
And so we went off out back in the back parking lot, and we talked for 25, 30 minutes. And sure enough, exactly what I saw is exactly what pushed the tree over on him.
Wow. And when you say tree, what size of tree? Do you know how big it was that got pushed over on this guy?
I don't. I know he when he said the Sasquatch pushed the tree over on him, he went to the hospital all bloodied up.
Huh.
And when they asked him what happened, that's what he told them at the hospital.
Oh, man.
That's about all I know. And all I know is that he was camping and cutting wood, and his camping. He had a truck and a trailer. He was by himself, and he was cutting firewood.
Mm-hmm.
And something didn't like him cutting down the trees, obviously, and pushed a tree over on him when he was in his tent. But he was able to get out from underneath of it. But he had some broken ribs and some damage from branches and stuff hitting him when it fell over. Luckily, he was in a small, deep enough depression where he was at that the tree, didn't crush him.
Right. So he doesn't.
But I knew what it did to him, so there is no way in hell I am going to talk to anybody else.
Right. So you said that you don't know why it happened. He did the for lack of other term, the town drunk didn't know why he did it. He pushed a tree over on him, huh?
Yeah. What I know now, knowing what I know in the research that I've done and this studying that I've did in the last 30 years is he was inside their living room cutting down trees.
Oh,
and the Sasquatch that was there got ticked. That's what I think happened.
Right. So
what are you doing cutting down my living room wall?
Yeah.
What are you doing rearranging my house?
That was my entertainment center.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where I watched all of you little folks.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. That's
exactly.
Well, I'm sure it was probably a good thing for that gentleman who had been mocked for so long to finally have a real conversation about it.
Yes, and then having somebody exactly, and somebody that wants his opinion and wants to know if what I saw was the same thing that pushed the tree over on him. It was a huge relief to him, I think, or at least I hope, knowing that there's not the whole town and not everybody thinks he's crazy. Yeah. And he's the one that told me, you don't ever say anything to anybody about what you saw.
And that's sad that that's the state of affairs, though, for people that, because, I mean, how alone could you feel?
Yeah, no doubt.
Have something so scary happen and not have anywhere to go with it for, because you're just going to be crucified for it. Oh.
Yes, exactly. And, that was when Duke asked me to come on his show. That's exactly what I thought the general consensus was going to be, to my story. But, in the last 10, 15 years, you notice that the general consensus has switched. Now there's more people that believe in Bigfoot and know that they are real as the people that don't think they're real anymore. And, you know, I've seen that shift. And that's one of the very few reasons why Duke was able to get me to come on the air. I told him when he asked me to do that, I said, no, never. But he's pretty persuasive, and you see, I wound up doing it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad
he convinced me. He convinced me that, you know, one of the things we talked about is what I talked about a little bit ago. You know, if there's something that I know that can possibly help us better understand these beings, then I have an obligation to tell it.
Sure.
And you know, it's and the thing to remember is that you're sharing this for the people that are going to grow and benefit from it, and not from the idiots that would, you know, try to belittle you or talk down to you or mock you. I mean, the people that will appreciate it and desire this kind of information, it's going to mean the world to.
Yes. And that's, I've got to say, I was geared up for the ridicule after going on Brian's show. I was totally ready for that. And then it just blew my mind that 99% of the feedback that I have got has been positive. Yeah. There's always going to be the people that are so unhappy that they have to make everybody else unhappy also. Yep. But as a general rule, it's been an overwhelming positive response, and everybody, their support, and it's actually been amazing.
Oh, I'm glad that you did.
I was totally geared up for it to go the total opposite direction, and it hasn't. It shocked me, and it surprised me pleasantly.
Yes,
that people are receptive of it. I think people are sick of the crap that goes on in the Bigfoot world.
Oh yeah, there's no question.
I think that they're ready for all of that, you know, to change, and hopefully it will.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, just to let you know, Kevin, we got a whole lot of people in the chat that are saying hi, and they're here to support you. So just be aware. Apparently, we've got a lot of your followers in here, and they're in here,
awesome,
and they're giving their love to you.
Absolutely.
All right, tell them thank you. I'm sorry I can't be on the YouTube chat tonight, but tell them everybody thank you, and I said hi.
Oh, I'm
sure.
sure
God bless them all.
They hear you.
Yep, you just did tell them. Now, you had this first interaction over a period of several days. How long was the whole period that you were staying up in the mountains there?
I stayed for about 4.5 days.
Okay.
And that was about the end of the third day is when I made contact with him, physical contact, and then he gave me the hug and started crying, and he just held on to me. Oh man, really tight. Oh. But it was good. I mean, that's what I needed at that moment, because, like I said in the interview, and what I led to a little bit ago, is he needed me and I needed him at that particular moment in both of our lives. And that's why I think that me and Glagg worked over the years, is because he was just my friend. He wasn't scary to me. He wasn't a Sasquatch. He was my best friend. He was my buddy.
That is so cool.
And it's just, you know, I never looked at him as anything else other than a buddy.
Mm-hmm. So how did you end up? I mean, how did it go then when you did have to go back? Was that a real tough moment?
It wasn't as tough as you would think. I told him, oh crap! I started thinking, oh crap! I've got to go back to town.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But how quickly he grasped concepts that are human, such as a day and time, is phenomenal. I took a stick and drew in the snow, in the trees, in the pine needles. I swept them aside in the snow that skiff that was on top of them. Out in the meadow, it was deeper, but took a stick and I drew a box, and I put a circle with spikes around it, and said sun, and pointed to the sun, because it was in the daytime. And then I drew another box with the moon, and I told him, you know, when it's dark, you know, the moon up there. And I don't remember how he confirmed it, but I said, day and night, that's one day. I will be back in 5 days. So I drew a sun and a moon, a sun and a moon, a sun and a moon. I drew 5 of them and said, I will be back in 5 days.
That is cool.
And that's, by the end of 2 or 3 hours, he wanted to follow me home. And I told him, no, you can't. You can't.
Right.
Please, you got to stay here. And I don't know why I was talking to him like you and I are talking, but I just did.
Sure.
But he stayed. As far as I knew, knowing what I know now, over the years, he probably followed me back to town. It would surprise me if he didn't.
Yeah.
But when I told him I would be back up in 5 days to meet me here, right at the base of this tree.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back in 5 days, guess where he was?
Waiting right there, huh?
Waiting for me right there.
Wow.
It's just
Did he stand there for 5 days? I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it's like,
I didn't think so, but 5 days later, and every time I told him I would be back at a certain time,
mm-hmm.
he was waiting for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Every single time.
That's really cool. I just got thought of Forrest Gump when he's waiting. He brings his child to the school bus stop, and the bus drives away, and he just sits there because in his mind, I'm sure his mom was waiting there the whole day too, for him to get home. So that's what he had to do. So he's sitting there waiting for his kid to get done with school. So we're going to go to our next break, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be back for the second hour. And again, the phone lines will be open if you want to call in. You can definitely take part of the conversation, 213-233-3998. Again, 213-233-3998. Don't go away, everybody. We'll be right back.
Well, this storm is bad.
Hi.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart.
I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second hour of the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, joined by my co-host, Don Longbeard. And we are joined tonight by Mr. Kevin Laing, who is of Kevin Laing's Glagg land. And he's telling us this encounters and experience of befriending a Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Kevin, you were just, we do have some calls on the line, so... let's see. Do you want to? What was I was wondering something about. Okay, so you went back up there. He was there, waiting, and then, so he was able. The Glagg was able to fend for himself in the times of your absences. Okay, was that your expectation or experience, or did he look like he really needed your help still?
That first year that I took a hind quarterback home with me. That's it.
Oh, okay.
I left the rest of it for him, and I, over the next several years, don't really want to tattle on myself, but I took game for him all the time.
Okay.
I took it down for him all the time.
Okay.
So I've provided quite a bit of protein for him over the next couple of years.
Oh, that's really cool, and I'm sure he grew pretty quickly.
Holy cow! You have no idea. Yes, he did.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, if you're okay with it, I think we can go to one of these calls. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Let's go to the first call, and this is area code 541. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you perfect.
Yes.
Okay, no feedback?
Nope, it's wonderful.
Okay, so my name's Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
And I met Kevin probably about 9 months ago.
Okay.
He's a very humble man. And about 2 weeks ago, I was on the phone with him. And he was on his back porch. And he said, here, sis, he goes, I'm going to turn the camera around so you can just look out here and see what I'm seeing.
Uh-huh.
And no shit.
No kidding.
There was a Sasquatch moving from like 2 trees. And it was walking back and forth, and it would stop, like it was trying to hide. I said, Kevin, I think it's trying to hide around something, because it would just stop and freeze. But I'm telling you, this man is genuine, and he's just got a knack for this, and I think that they love him.
Oh, that's cool.
And of course,
Thanks, Amanda.
and of course, Duke keeps giving me shit about it because I didn't take a screenshot of it while I was on the Messenger with him. Every single time I talk to Duke, he's like, "Oh, no, you couldn't get a screenshot of him, could you?" I was totally, I was freaked out that I even saw one on live, freaking online.
Wow.
That is really.
But
middle of the afternoon. It was about 3:00 in the afternoon in broad daylight.
Wow, that's really.
yeah,
cool.
I was like, "Oh my God!" So, look, I just want to say a couple things about all this stuff.
Sure.
Is that Kevin's story is very compelling. I mean, it's completely true. I completely believe him.
Yeah. So
And I cried through 90% of all of his stuff.
yeah.
And but I'm sorry, I'm starting to get.
No, it's okay. I mean, I appreciate you. I appreciate you
Thank you,
vouching for
Amanda.
him. That's really a wonderful thing. I believe his story 100% myself. So I've heard the interviews. I've heard the emotion, and either he's telling the truth or he should be in movies because he's a hell of an actor.
Yeah.
So much passion, so
You
much
know.
love.
And I'm just a dumb hick from Idaho, guys.
Yeah. Well, we're a couple.
It's
We're a
just
couple hits
weird.
from Idaho too.
Yeah. Where do you think we are?
Go ahead, Amanda.
Well, after I started watching his show and we were out and we were, camping and stuff, and I started taking pictures, and I started noticing stuff that I can't explain, and I sent them to Kevin, and then that's how I got his phone number, and I was like, please explain this stuff. So I just want to say thank you, Kevin. I love you, brother. I'll be giving you a call here later on, and, good East Texas Bigfoot research. Keep going, girl. You're going to get it. You got some awesome videos. And Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, honey, I love you. And peace out.
Excellent.
And thanks, Amanda. I love you, sis.
I love you too, brother.
And thank you so much for calling in. It's really nice to meet you and to hear from you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
And this, I know, emotions kind of take over, but please, try to keep the language as clean as you can. We are a family show. We got a lot of little ones that listen, so just a word to our any other callers. And no problem, Amanda. I'm not scolding you. It's fine. But all right, let's get to the next one here. This is area code 307. You're on the air. Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Oh,
Hey.
hey, Sarah. How
What's
you
up?
doing? Hi, hey.
What's going on?
Nothing much. What's on your mind tonight?
I'm wondering, what do you guys know about black goo?
We'll have to save that for a night when
this
we're going to
wrong
discuss that. Yeah, this
topic?
is
Okay.
this is a Bigfoot night where we have our guest on, Kevin Laing, who has got a lifetime of experience with Bigfoot and up close personal interactions. So,
Oh.
did you have any questions about that?
Let me ask this question then. Has he ever been in the Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming?
I have, but it's been a long time. It's been a very long time.
Have you ever had or heard of any experiences there?
Not that I can remember. That doesn't mean anything. When I was there, it's the last time I was a kid. So it's been many years ago.
Oh, okay.
I've never done any research there. But that's just my lack of experience with the area. It's been over 30 years, probably 25, 30 years since I've been there.
No, that's cool. Like I appreciate anybody's experience. So
Yeah.
thank you.
And I know that.
Thank you very much.
This is kind of this whole upper Pacific Inland Northwest is pretty much a hot spot for all this activity. I think. I mean, they're definitely around.
I think
They are here in Wyoming.
I think a lot
they
of
are.
places.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I believe so.
Yep. I think you're right. And I didn't mean to characterize that with just our region. It's amazing.
Oh no.
their versatility in that they can adapt and survive in so many different, very disparate kind of environments.
Exactly.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Exactly.
Everywhere.
You're right.
Is what you mean to say.
Everywhere, absolutely.
For real, like they are everywhere.
Yeah. Well, the only
I-
state in the United States, the only state that has no claims of Bigfoot activity is Hawaii, as I understand it. Yep. So that's that's pretty amazing. They are everywhere. But thank
Probably
you.
because
Go ahead.
politics.
Maybe. All right.
Just kidding.
Well, thank you for calling in, Sarah. It's wonderful to
All
hear
right,
from you.
right.
Have a good night.
See ya.
Yeah. You too. Bye.
All right. So
Cool.
that's the calls we have so far, but anyone else wants to call in, the phone number is 213-233-3998. Again, 213-233-3998. So the phone...
Sorry, guys, I have no experience with black goo.
No, I don't. You know that. And Sarah's a friend, and she's been a longtime friend of the show, and she's messaged me about that too, and I find it incredibly interesting. But I haven't had any opportunity to do any research on it. But it's something I'm really curious about, and I'm going to look into when I feel like I can stay awake. I'm just feeling like
I've heard about it, but I have nothing to add to it.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. But so you had formed this relationship, and you went up all the time to check on him. Do you know? Did he have? How did he survive? Like, do they build nests? Do they use caves, or how did they normally do it? As far as you understand.
Excellent question. But where I found out that he had been staying, which was a perfect place, and we just kind of added to it a little bit, was just an opening, and he's in the Rocky Mountains. And you know how many crevices, and up in the mountains where you can find a crevice in the rocks that you can climb back into. It opens up into a bigger space back behind there. For lack of a better term, it was a cave. It wasn't a cave. It was more a rock crevice that went back far enough to have him a little shelter back in there, and then using, brush and stuff to make it obscured more so it wouldn't be so obvious. It was pretty well hidden anyway. But it was that type of thing. Now this is my human side. I took up some, the moving blankets that you get at U-Haul, the wool moving blankets.
Yep.
I used some yarn, and I stitched a couple of those together and made a ginormous sleeping bag for him, and took that up for him and put it inside there.
Oh, cool.
That was probably, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of a mile to 1.5 miles away from where my tree stand was, is where his little hovel was.
Okay.
But so when I planned to meet him up after I found out that was a couple of weeks later, to where I actually, communicated and got across the fact that, where do you live? Where do you stay when I'm not here? And that's what he showed me. And I took all sorts of stuff up for him, not food-wise. The only thing that I ever had that he would not leave me alone, and he knew when it was in my backpack, was beef jerky and granola bars. The old hard wafer Nature Valley granola bars.
Sure. You loved them, huh?
And well, it wasn't beef jerky, it was deer jerky. We always turned deer into jerky, and man, he would just go nuts until he had eaten all of that.
Wow.
Every single time I had it.
That is really cool. And now I got to ask you as well. Now, so you saw his hovel, or where he was staying. Was it obvious to your eyes that a lot of traffic was going through there, like he was coming and going, or was it really well camouflaged in order, like in terms of?
It was very well camouflaged.
Okay.
In fact, even though I said I helped put more brush in to try in front of it and to help camouflage it, if I would have been walking by there hunting, I wouldn't have seen it.
Wow.
And I wouldn't have found it unless I was looking for it. And that's something that, looking back on it, I didn't realize it back then, but all around, I didn't see his foot tracks around there.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that I didn't back then, but in and out of that, there was you couldn't tell that something was going in and out of that crevice right there.
Sure.
And it didn't look like you should have been able to fit through there.
Right.
You know, when you look at it, to me, but he could get through there quicker than I could.
I just got to interrupt for just a second. Thank you really for the donation. That's really wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much. That really helps the show out, and it helps us to continue to grow the show. So you're amazing. We love you. Thank you so much. So, so you didn't see tracks. You didn't see, and that's the amazing thing, because these are such amazingly large and dense animals, and they're walking through this rough brush and soft ground, and yet they're just like constantly conscious of the fact that they may be leaving prints. Is that what it is, or do you think just naturally they don't leave them real well?
I think it's something that is ingrained in them from birth, that you don't leave tracks. You don't leave any sign that you're there, if at all possible. And I think that's the way that they survive.
Right.
You know, don't let a human see you. Don't let a human, know where you're at. Why? We're their entertainment. They're always on the outside looking in. They don't have cell phones. They don't have internet. They don't have television.
Right.
They don't have coloring books. What do they have? They have nature, and they have us to watch, and we are a conundrum to them.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Watch what humans do to each other. Can you blame them for not wanting to have any interaction with us?
Yeah, no,
I don't.
Not much at all, no. And and the other part of it is that we have a tendency to destroy what we love, and so if if it ever did come out, for sure everybody knew for sure tomorrow there were Sasquatch out there, all of a sudden everybody would be just compelled to hit the woods and look for them, and it would just destroy their worlds.
How many idiots with guns would be out there hunting?
Oh, exactly.
Just because they don't understand them.
Well, yeah, and everybody wants to.
And that was always my fear, was that another human. That was something that was probably the hardest for me to get across to him. Is yes, I'm a human. You can trust me, but you can't trust humans.
Right. Well, that's
and that
good.
gets into I know that if anybody that. The people that know me and know the story, I know I'm skipping over a lot, but we don't have the same time I had on Deke's show. But
right, yeah, unfortunately,
trying to teach him that, and then when the next hunting season came, trying to teach him, oh crap, there's going to be guns. How do I do that? That was an adventure in and of itself too. That took a couple of months to get him used to the fact that, a gun can hurt you, but the gun's not bad. It's the person that points the gun at you. Mm-hmm. So just don't get around a human with a gun.
So now another thing that you mentioned briefly, and I think it really demonstrates a sense that they have that we don't normally attribute to them, but I believe they probably have an amazing sense of smell, because you said he knew as soon as you came up that you had jerky in your pack.
Right.
It's like
yes.
So
yes, that is something that is so far beyond their natural abilities. It's something that's my opinion. It's based on pretty good research and pretty good knowledge that I have based on my experiences, that just their natural abilities, just their senses are so far beyond ours.
Mm-hmm. Right.
How well they can see. I know he can see a lot better in the dark than I would ever be able to see without night vision.
Right.
And one of these days, maybe on another show, I can explain a little bit better how I know that. Their sense of smell, it's just, that's something that Glagg did all the time, was sniff the air. Their ability, that is something that is so large, to move faster than your mind can process information. Mm-hmm. And that's nothing paranormal or supernatural about them. That's a natural ability.
Right. Yeah, they are just agile.
Now think of that. That they can move faster than your mind can process information.
Wow.
That means what I'm getting at is, if there's always the mistake of one messing up, but if you see one, I think there's a reason for it. They have the ability to get out of your line of sight, or move so fast that you will dismiss it as a shadow or something else. So when people see it, I think they know what's in your heart. Look at the hunting Bigfoot or killing Bigfoot show. how many Bigfoot do they ever see?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that they ever saw
None.
any.
The big production crew. Yep. I'm not so naive as to think there hasn't ever been any killed. In fact, I would bet,
Yeah.
My life that there has been more than you can count killed. It's just that part is being covered up.
Yeah.
Also, that's my opinion. But it's just, I kind of lost what I was getting at there, but it's just.
Well, the one.
I remember. They know your heart. The people that are out there that see them, that have not a bad encounter, that they just see them. I think there's a reason for it, if you know it or not. I think they know what's in people's hearts. How they do it, I don't know.
Right. No, there's a couple of things you've said that, even though a lot of the people that we've had on the show, their ideals about the Sasquatch or about the Bigfoot are very disparate. We have many people on the show that just believe they're just an undiscovered ape. Right. There's other people that believe they're just this human kind that we don't understand. There's other people that believe they're supernatural. And the one thing that all of you experiencers are consistent on is the idea that they know, the government knows they're out there. That seems to be one thing that has bridged every person we've ever had on the show, is that they believe in, I guess I believe as well, but the government knows they're out there and covers it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
And I find that at least that's something common ground, to start with. You got to have that one piece of common ground, and maybe we can build on that. But,
Yes.
Hey, Kevin.
Yes.
Well, we've got a quick question from our TFR listeners, and they want to know because I don't know why, but anyhow, they want to know if you believe that Bigfoot is earthbound, or do you think that maybe they may be like an interdimensional traveler?
Okay, I'll tell you my experience.
Okay.
Flesh and blood.
Flesh and blood.
I never saw anything paranormal. I never saw anything, with dimensions or anything. That doesn't mean that I discount it.
Sure.
I don't discount anything. My best friend was, the last time I saw him, over 11 feet tall, 10.5 to 11 feet tall, and weighed well over a ton.
Wow.
Who am I to discount anything that anybody says?
Sure. Right.
But just because I never saw it doesn't mean I don't discount it, or I would never tell somebody, oh, no, that's not right.
Right.
No,
right.
My what I know is so incredible that, who's going to believe that?
Right.
So I've never discounted anything anybody says, even though it's out of my realm of experience.
Right.
I never saw that. It doesn't mean I don't believe it's possible. It's just I never saw anything supernatural like that with Glagg.
Right.
If that was because he was, excuse me, so young and hadn't learned, or orphaned or abandoned so young, whatever it was that happened, that his parents didn't have the time to teach him.
Right.
I don't know. If it's something that he got as he became older or learns, I don't know, but I just never saw that.
Right.
Now that is going back to my time with Glagg. Now there's stuff that I have seen in my research now that I still don't. I have no clue.
Sure.
Now I thought I did back then, but now I'm not sure.
Right.
I've seen some stuff that I can't explain, and it's funny. The older I get, the more I know I don't know anything.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I thought I knew it all.
Mm-hmm. That's that. I agree with you. And in so many ways in my life, I thought that at some point in my life when I was younger, I would just have it all figured out. And the older I get, the less I figured out. The more I realize I never am going to figure it out. But we do have a caller, Lewis. I see you're on the queue, but just hold on. And we'll get to you after the break. We're about to come up to our last break. It's gone so fast. We've hardly even dusted the countertop here before the meal's even served.
Yeah, no doubt.
We haven't even talked about what's going on nowadays.
I know, and that's what I want to. I was just going to say I want to get to those photos, and have you go over those with us. Of course, those of you on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live won't be able to see them, but if you, between now and after the break, if you head over to youtube.com/paranormal portal, you can see the photos, but we'll do our best to explain them to those of you that aren't able to, so you understand what we're talking about. But yeah, there's so much we need to discuss, and unfortunately, 2 hours isn't even going to give us, it's not even going to be the hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll come back anytime you guys want me to.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I definitely want to get into so much more about this. I know we could field questions at you all night, and never run out of things to inquire about. But yeah, and again, ladies and gentlemen, you can always find Kevin over on Kevin Laing's Glagg channel on YouTube. And you said you had a Facebook as well, is that right?
It's Glagland on Facebook.
Glagland on Facebook and on MeWe, or just or both?
Yes. It's just both of Facebook and MeWe is both just Glagland.
Okay, and Glagg is spelled with Glagg, right? 2 G's?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So just so you guys know, that'll be some more information for you if we don't cover it on the show. But we're going to take our last break, and we'll be right back. We'll get to our caller and some photos and see where we can end up by the time the show is done. So don't go away, everybody.
The last break when I got.
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the last half hour of tonight's show. And we are joined tonight by Mr. Kevin Laing, who is an experiencer of pretty much unprecedented proportions, as he befriended juvenile Sasquatch and basically grew up alongside of each other. Just an amazing story, an amazing experience. But 1.5 hour to go, Kevin. We're moving through the night.
I can't believe it's already been an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's just there's there's so much more to get to. But right off the bat here, I want to get to the caller, if you don't mind. Are you ready?
Yes, not a problem.
All right, let's get to our caller. This is Lewis, 858. You're on the air.
Oh, hey guys.
Hey.
Hello.
Yeah, your story is really amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I've had a dream about Bigfoot once.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was doing those calls like the BFRL does. And Rita, which is a Sasquatch, he actually came running towards me.
In a dream?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's got to be pretty intense. Did you have a question for Kevin?
And there's I have a story. Actually, I pretended to be a Bigfoot once, but I do not have the strength to actually push a tree down, a young tree, right? And I did not have the same strength as the Bigfoot does.
Right. Oh, that's amazing. But yeah, we certainly can't compete physically with the Bigfoot. They're on a whole different level. They make our power lifters look like wimps.
There's the truth.
They're way stronger than ours.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. But thank you for calling in, Lewis. It's great to hear from you.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, sir. And we have one more caller here, and this is from area code 979. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Lisa. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for calling. How are you?
Lisa.
Wonderful. Here in Texas, it was a beautiful day. I had a question for Kevin. Bigfoots have been around for a very long time. We even see them in rock paintings and carvings. So they're nothing new. At what point do you think the government started trying to cover this up? Back to the colonial days or much more recently?
I think it's probably been a lot farther back than we realize. I really do. I'm not exactly sure when, but it's not anything recent.
What might the motivation have been, say, 200 years ago to cover it up?
Settlement moving west. You know, if people know that there's something out there that's as massive as they are, you know, you couldn't get expansion. Excuse me. There's any number of reasons. I still couldn't venture a guess as to why they would cover them up now. Mm-hmm. But you know, it'd just be speculation. But my own opinion, it goes way back farther than we realize.
And that's a
lot farther back than the Patterson-Gimlin film, I believe.
Right. That's an interesting perspective as well, that it would be, you know, because you're right. If people thought there were these giant hairy creatures in the woods, and would they have been brave enough to start settling west and going west and starting to lay claim to this land?
Exactly.
That's a good point.
You think about David Paulides covers it in his book, but there's something to the name given to places. Mm-hmm. You know, Devil's Peak, Devil's Slide, Devil's Tower. You know, anything like that the Native Americans tend to stay away from. Mm-hmm. I think there's a reason for it. Is that the reason for the cover-up going back that far, that it has to do with, you know, just the westward expansion or settling this country? Possible. Is it something deeper than that? It's possible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's all just speculation. But I do know it's gone on a lot longer than we would think.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. And what do you think of that,
Great
Lisa?
question, Lisa. Good to hear your voice again.
Oh, you know Lisa as well?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we've talked.
Oh, very cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
Not
Couple
about
of
this,
times.
but yes.
Yep.
Well, no, that's great. I'm just thrilled to meet all these new people. So thank you so much for calling in. Did you have any other questions, Lisa?
Yes, thank you. No, that's pretty well covered it. Thank you.
All right. Have a great night. Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Lisa.
So
You too.
we do have another question from one of our longtime listeners, Ken, over in Australia. He asks if because we're talking about Glagg right now, but Bigfoot in general, do they over in Australia? Apparently, they like to build rock piles in rivers and things like that. Did Glagg ever do that, or do you know of reports of American Bigfoot doing that?
Some, a lot more here, is the stick structures, and the stuff with trees, the bows and the X's.
Right.
And, like the picture of mine that you guys have that hopefully you'll post up there of the stump.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Probably 800 or 900 pounds being up in the top of a tree. Explain that. That happens in nature, right?
Okay, so it's on the screen now.
And there is some stuff with rocks, but I think here it's more the trees.
So I got that picture up right now, as a matter of fact, the stump up in the tree. And you can see the size of that root ball. That's got to be nearly 100 pounds just on the dirt load it's got with it, if not more.
Yes. And that happened, I was down over, that's 75 to 100 yards right off my back porch.
Wow.
And that happened 4 nights ago.
That
was not there 5 days ago, and when I woke up 4 days ago, and when I always go out and check and see if there's anything new around here. And the next night is when the next pictures that you guys have, that's when all of the rest of that happened. But that happened 4 nights ago.
Okay, and this is the tree the tree breaks?
Yeah, all of that stuff happened within probably 4 hours of each other out back there. And you'll notice if you put the one up that is the tree laying there, that I took a close up of the root ball, there's no hole in the ground where the roots came out.
Oh,
you're right.
Where did that tree come from?
And that's a gorgeous dog, by the way.
Thank you very much. That's Buddy. That's he went squatching with us today. RJ, my little buddy, he's spending the night over here because of all the activity off the back porch.
Oh, no doubt.
Right.
He's in there on my living room floor on an air mattress.
Right.
Because I can step out on the back porch, and anybody wants to see one, come here, and I'll stay 2 nights and I'll show you Bigfoot.
Did you get the pictures on?
Oh.
Did you go 3 screen or
Derp.
just 2 screen?
Oh, I did derp it up. That's what
Hold on.
I gotta put this.
We gotta go back up and put those pictures on.
Your microphone died.
That's a big old huge, probably 35, 40 foot tall cedar tree. Where did that root ball come out of the ground? Anywhere around there. I'll take a video camera out there and videotape every square inch of the ground.
That is amazing. I'm just zooming in to see that root ball up in the tree with the stump.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's got to be an 8-inch sapling or an 8-inch
and
diameter. Would you say on that trunk?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And how high up did you say that was in those trees?
That's about 45, 50 up in that tree across the road.
Jeez.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. That unless
now you take this world's strongest man, somebody like Brian Shaw, and I don't think he could put that stump that high up in the tree.
No, that's superhuman strength for sure. Now this root ball, this is interesting. This is one you were talking about. There's no hole. The dog is there, and there's no hole where that tree came from. This tree was dragged or brought here and left for you guys.
Oh, there's no drag marks either. That's about a 35 foot tall cedar.
Man.
So you're saying he basically yanked it out of the ground, picked it up, and carried it into there?
Well, you explain it to me. We don't have any heavy equipment back there to do it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not admitting to anything, but explain where that tree come from.
Right. That is really amazing.
There's maples back there, not cedars.
Wow.
Oh. So it's even a tree that's not in that area.
Well, there's a couple little ones,
right.
But no, the cedars. I don't know where they keep appearing from.
Wow.
Wow, that's
that
crazy.
is amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, the tree stump up in lodged up in a tree. The picture is of this. There's an adult tree, and you're looking at the tree top of it, and up in this tree is I would say about a 6 foot length of probably 8-inch diameter tree trunk, and it's broken off. There's no top to it, but it includes a big root ball full of soil. The soil is still impacted and all the roots, and it somehow is 40 some feet up in a tree. So the amount of weight, the amount of force that would require, I mean, unless they were carrying it on a helicopter, I have no idea how it got there. It's like, and I don't think they.
Yeah, well, I'd just say it's the Bigfoot construction that was going on back there. The last couple of nights, there's been Bigfoot construction going on in that ravine over there.
Wow.
Man, just crazy. And I think I told you on the phone, there was another researcher here from Texas, East Texas Bigfoot Research, and they saw that there was nothing over there where that big cedar is that's laying down. That was not there before, and that root ball was not in that tree before. They were here the day before.
Wow.
And that stuff wasn't there.
Now, do you suppose do you guys burn wood? I'm just curious.
Yes.
So could this be?
And not here at my house, but
okay,
my buddy's house. Yes, they do.
Which is right next to you, right?
Across the way, a couple 100 yards, but yeah.
Okay, so I mean, could this be? I'm just throwing some really wild idea out there, but could this be a gifting where they brought you a tree because they thought you should have one?
Yeah, that's possible. Or it's because now I'm here. I'm out on the back porch all the time watching them. Mm-hmm. They're putting up some railing and on the back porch and watching me on their forest back porch. Wow. That's something I can't really say for definite, but I don't know. Maybe it's a gift. Yes, it's very, very possible. Maybe it's something that that they're using to hide behind. I do have. There is a lot of goats around here.
Okay.
The people that I live on their property, they have goats, and I think the mamas and the babies like watching the mamas and the babies, meaning the mama and baby Sasquatch like watching the mama and the baby goats. And this makes sense to me because they don't mess with them. They definitely don't mess with them. It's just, 2 baby goats in the last 2 years have been taken by a bobcat.
Right.
Wow. That is really amazing. I mean, those pictures are just phenomenal.
And about 2 weeks ago, that bobcat was on top of my roof. And this man, it was a big bobcat also.
Wow.
And I let it be known off the back porch that if they wanted to take care of the bobcat, they could. Wouldn't hurt my feelings one bit, and I haven't seen the bobcat in 2 weeks.
Wow is right. That's pretty wild. And Don and I checked out a situation of a structure up here. We're up in the very north of Idaho, near the Canadian border in a town called Sandpoint. And north of us, there was a structure. Mm-hmm. And I sent Duke the pictures of it so that he could see. But the thing that tipped off the homeowner that something was wrong is they had 30 chickens, and then they were down to 9.
Yep.
And there was no feather messes, nothing, but there was a hole that was rudimentarily sewn up.
Yeah.
In a torn tarp reaching into the chicken coop. And back in the woods there, the homeowner found this structure. And it's like almost like a dome that was rudimentarily woven. It's really impressive. Like they were just coming up there hiding, going and grabbing a chicken and coming back, and never did see any feathers anywhere in the area. So it's not an animal kill. Because an animal kill, they'll shake it and kill it, and the chicken will blow feathers. Yeah, it'll be confetti, but there is never any feather mess at all.
Yeah, there was no mess. They said.
I know of a woman that I talked to over the last year and a half, that her neighbor, on the back side of her property is woods, and this is back east. And the neighbor put up a big dome tent in his backyard for his grandkids and stuff to play in. And guess what showed up out in the woods?
A dome tent?
Stick structure dome tent.
Oh, that's interesting.
And yep.
So they are.
And she got a picture of it. I don't have it right on me, but she got a picture. If you zoom in the two little windows that mimic the two little windows on the dome tent in the backyard, there's a face inside one of the little windows in the stick structure dome tent.
That is really cool. So they
really interesting.
So they are learning by observing in many, many ways. Now, another question I have, Kevin, is do you think that most Sasquatch at least have a rudimentary understanding of English? Do you think that they?
I think they understand English a lot better than anybody would ever give them credit for.
Okay.
If you talk to them like me and you were talking, they're going to understand you. That's my opinion.
Right, and I share that opinion. Even the native legends talk of them trading with the hairy men, and having interaction with them, and of course the First Nations believed these were just a different tribe. They were just another people.
Yes.
They didn't regard them as a beast or an animal.
Yes, that's something that the Native American that is indigenous to the area that they're in. If you speak the native language and American language to them, they will understand that also. I speak Cherokee.
Okay.
Bits and pieces of Cherokee that I remember from my grandma. But I speak Cherokee to them and they respond to it.
Wow.
I also speak a little bit of Shoshone and they respond to that. And even though it's not anywhere near, where the Chauvin tribe is in Idaho, I'm not anywhere near that, but they still respond to that language.
Right. Wow.
That's really cool.
And they respond to English also. And that's something that I would say is Glagg had a tremendous grasp of the English language before he ever met me, and how quick he picked it up. How did I know his name? Because he told it to me. That's what I said at the very beginning of the show. Animals don't have language.
Right.
He can talk. He can talk very well.
Did you ever hear him talk in Bigfoot language? And I'm basically wondering if it sounded anything like the Sierra sounds that Ron Moore had recorded up in the Sierra Mountains.
Now, that is something that I believe is my human influence in him being so young. I heard bits and pieces of his language, but when we communicated, it was, when you've got your best friend that you can finish their sentences, and you can look at each other and you know what you want to do. That was our relationship. But there is some words, unfortunately, I have had a stroke since I last saw Glagg, and there is stuff that I thought that I would never forget that is just gone. Yeah. Being on Duke's show and talking about it every Sunday night and letting anybody in the world come and ask me questions has helped me gain back some.
Good.
But I know there's a large part of my memory that is gone, but fortunately, Glagg was enough an important part of my life that there's a lot of it that I still have.
Good. Yeah.
And there's a particular word in his language that he called me that I could never remember. And it just, after my stroke, it bothered me and bothered me and bothered me. And that is something that I finally got back not too long ago. And I know exactly what he called me. And I'm sorry, everybody, I'm not going to tell it to you on the air. You can understand why I don't want people just running around the forest calling out what he called me.
Right.
I think it'd be a disrespect to him. And I'm not exactly sure what it means, but that was for me and him.
Yeah, it could have been.
But I did get that back for the people that knew that I hadn't remembered it. I finally did.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Now I got another question about them. And this is one that I've always wondered because for eyewitness accounts, people often say they had no noticeable ears. So you have the experience of being up close and personal. What are their ears like?
They're very similar to ours. It's just with where their head, the way it sits in orientation to their shoulders, and the massive amount of hair. Just don't. They're not prominent.
Okay.
That part of their head is all covered with hair. But yes, they do have ears.
Okay.
There's a lot more of that, the physical attributes that one of these days maybe I can get into with you.
Okay.
But darn it, there's something I was going to add to that, but it just left.
Oh, that's okay. That happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Sorry, my voice is breaking. It's a good thing we're almost out of show because
Yeah.
I'm almost out of voice. But I was gonna ask you something. It's gone now too. Okay, go ahead, Don.
Yeah. So Kevin, we've got, we were talking about languages there, and you talked about the Shoshone, and you talked about Cherokee, you talked about English. We have a one of our listeners is asking, excuse me, if you knew if they ever spoke ancient Sumerian, and so, kind of pointing back to them being around from way back then. Do you have any clue about that?
Excellent question. Unfortunately, I don't have enough experience with ancient Sumerian, but that's a dang good question.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where their root dialect is from? Unfortunately, it's something outside of my realm of experience, so I can't.
Right.
It would just be speculation. But man, that's an excellent question. That's
excellent.
Definitely something that requires a little bit of research, I think.
Oh, no doubt.
Excellent question. Thank you.
Well, we know that they go back. We know that the First Nations talk about them. We know that they go back as far as we can tell. As I think it was Lisa. Was it Lisa on the phone that said about the cave paintings from the First Nations and farther back than that? Was that her or was that Amanda?
Yes, that was Lisa.
Oh, okay. So we know, they go back. So, the question just becomes how far. And if you could say ancient Sumerian, that not only means, it just doesn't mean that they've been here forever. It means that they came here from another part of, say, Pangea, so
yes.
Interesting.
Now that's something that I would be willing to get into my beliefs and my thoughts on what they are, based on my faith and the research I've done. It's not too far off on a guest that Brian just had on his show recently, but I'd love to get into that with you, what I actually think they are. So ancient Sumerian, highly possible.
Okay.
Oh, very
excellent.
cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we have 3 minutes and 10 seconds left in the show.
Right.
So, wow.
So can you go over now? Can you go over, first of all, let people know your Facebook and YouTube? I'm sorry, I'm just so foggy right now.
Okay.
Everything's a struggle for me.
Facebook, no problem. Facebook and me, we both are just Glagland. And on YouTube, it's Kevin Laing's Glagland. And every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Central, I go on and try to do a live chat. I think in the last year and a half, I've missed 4.
Wow.
But I go on and, for an hour and a half, sometimes it's went up to 2 hours, but I'll let anybody in the world come and ask me a question. You can see my face there. You can see the questions, even the ones that come and catch me off guard.
Right.
I don't shy away from any question. I'll answer any question anybody wants to give me. And I've done that ever since I was on Duke's show.
Excellent.
And I've only missed 4 Sundays in the last year, since October of last year.
Wow. Yeah, you're dedicated just like I am. You're kindred spirits that way. So
that's excellent. Wow. So
that gets back to, I think I have that obligation to get out what I know, if it's going to help somebody someday.
And it is. I mean, it's helped me understand a whole lot more just in the course of these 2 hours, because with your up close and personal experience, I can ask you things like the ears. I've always wondered about, in their language, and and how do they think, and you've brought so much light to a really nebulous subject, and I can't thank you enough for your time and for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Anytime. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, for sure.
Hopefully something can be learned and help us better understand these by something that I've said.
Exactly.
Well, it's brought me understanding, I know personally, and I'm sure our listeners are absolutely loving it as well. So let's see. I just want to make sure to shout this out before I forget. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, stick around after the show because Beyond the Veil will be coming up next. I believe it's another live episode. They got their studio rolling, and they've been doing wonderful shows. And so I'm sure they're going to be live tonight. But definitely make sure to check out Kevin Laing's Glagg Land on YouTube, because this is a great opportunity for you guys to look into these stories and into this experience so much more than you can on 2-hour shows of the Portal. So check that out. Check out World Bigfoot Radio, where you can hear the whole origin story from beginning to end, and it's just an amazing tale. And we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice, and take care of each other. Don, anything quick?
Just thank you, Kevin, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, Kevin.
Thank you, guys. God bless you all.
Make sure you hang up right afterwards, and I'll give you a call back on Skype. All right, guys, take care.
Okay.
We love you.
Bye.